State your name, please.
My name is Richard Donovan Edwards.
Who are your parents?
My father is Guy Marilyn Edwards, and my mother is Isabel Edwards.
Who were your grandparents?
My grandparents on my dad's side was Laura and Frank Edwards, and my grandparents on my mom's side was Elizabeth and John Cameron.
So, we're here to talk about Frank and Laura Edwards' family.
Okay.
And who was Guy Merlin Edwards in the line of Frank and Laura's children?
Oh my God. Guy was, let me see, got Oscar, Isabel, Homer, Vivian, Maggie, Lone, Guy.
Okay, so that's 7.
7.
Who's after him?
You've got Richard,
Okay.
John, whose name is John,
Uh-huh.
Charles,
Okay.
Addie, Charles, Ruth, Addie, and Donald.
Woo! How many children is it?
Oh, I think there was 13.
How do you know the order of your aunts and uncles so well?
I was raised around them.
Okay. Were you raised around your grandparents?
Yes, my grandparents raised me.
Until how old?
Till my grandmother passed, and I was about to turn 8 years old. I think I was just still 7.
So you were raised around your grandparents.
And my dad.
And Papa, my
Yes.
Papa.
Yeah.
Which other aunts and uncles lived there or close by?
Oh, Aunt Addie lived with us.
Okay.
Aunt Addie, that was her son was Jimmy, and her 2 daughters was Sadie Ann and Teresa. And my oldest cousin, who lives in Washington, D.C., she lived with us for a while. Her name was Donna Jean.
Okay. What did Papa do for a living?
At which time in his life? As I was coming up, or?
So was he in the armed services?
He was in the Navy, and he studied at Memphis Naval Air Station. He got out of the Navy, went to work for C&O Railroad in Ironton, Ohio. Then he moved to Columbus, when I guess I was about 1, maybe going on 2. He moved to Columbus, Ohio, and started working for Buckseed meat packing plant. They made dog foods and stuff like that. And then he left there and he went to Armor Star meat packing. Worked for Armor Star for a while and left Armor Star, got his back hurt at Armor Star. When he finally got back to work, he was working for Stilton Furniture Company, which is a Schottenstein organization in Columbus, Ohio.
So I've seen pictures of Papa, of Guy Edwards in football, basketball, baseball.
Yeah. Yep, he played all sports. All sports. Even I got to watch him play when I was coming up. He played for a team in the south end of Columbus, Ohio. They had a team, and it was actually sponsored by Buckeye Steel Casting Company, and Armor Star Company was part of the sponsors. And they used to play state teams within the state, and sometimes they would play at different prisons and play prison teams.
So, Papa, what I remember about Papa, his personality. Can you tell me about his personality and what kind of father he was? And with the brothers and sisters, who was the jokester, who was the superstar, who was the serious one with your aunts and uncles?
Honestly, they all were pretty serious. I think Richard and Chuckle and Donald were the least 3 serious people All the rest
When you
of
say
them,
that, they were funny.
they were funny and didn't adhere to all of the rules that other people had set for them.
Okay. They were the rebels.
No, Uncle Jack was the rebel.
Oh, okay.
Uncle Jack was the rebel. He didn't adhere to nobody's rules but his.
Okay.
Yeah. Uncle Homer was the oldest boy when I was living. Well, not necessarily. I forgot one.
Okay.
Uncle Merchant.
Oh, yeah, Merchant. I've heard of him.
Uncle Merchant was a pretty serious dude, workaholic. His daughter was Dolly, and his son was Pudgy. But Dad was a pretty serious dude, especially when it came to education and raising kids. But he was a great father because he not only looked out for me and Renita and all the rest of the kids in the family, the cousins, which there's a slew of.
Mm-hmm.
He also looked out for all the kids in the neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
that their dads weren't able or didn't know anything about the outdoors, or you know. And summertime he would take his little vacation, and we'd have a carload of all of the neighborhood kids. He would
Mhm.
take us fishing, he would take us blackberry picking, he would take us out in the country all the time. I guess to get them out of that little city atmosphere that they lived in. Me being raised in the country, it was just like going back to familiar grounds.
Going home.
Yeah.
So Papa could sing.
Yeah. Yeah. He could sing. He sang bass.
Who else could sing in the family?
In my family?
Yeah. Everybody except me.
I would say Ann Loney.
Okay.
She would be the only other one I could say.
Okay.
But most of her songs I know coming up, most of her songs was Mahalia Jackson, Dinah Washington, you know, people like that.
Who could dance?
Dad could dance.
Okay.
Dad could dance. Uncle Jack could dance. I guess back in the day, from the pictures I seen, all of them
Could dance. They could dress too.
Oh yeah, they always dressed. Always dressed.
What were some of the things that you learned from your dad and your aunts and uncles and your grandparents about your own personal style?
Basically, be yourself. And the way you dress also said about the way you respected yourself. We didn't always have nice clothes, but they was always clean.
Mm-hmm.
And they was always pressed to
Mhm.
the T. Might have a little patch here and there, but yeah, we stayed pretty sharp for being poor folks.
Okay. There's something that you tell me and Rick and April. Growing up, you would tell us, you know, remember your last name.
Yeah.
So where did that come from?
I guess that come from just watching my family. I've never known anyone in the Edwards family to disrespect that name because they were attached to Frank and Laura Edwards.
Okay.
And basically that's all you had was a name.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have a lot of money, so your name was gold. And I know coming up many a times I've gotten jobs, good jobs, just because of my last name
Okay.
and
Came
whose
before
family
you.
I was in.
So did you have any favorite cousins coming up? They might see this, so.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's okay. I guess I could say my favorite cousin coming up was Woody.
Okay.
John R. Edwards. Richard's, my Uncle Richard's oldest son. And me and Woody grew up together.
Okay.
We grew up together. And as far as females, I'd say for the longest, Tootie.
Okay.
Charlene Edwards.
Well, how did she get her name?
I have no idea. I have no idea. It was just a nickname that she had when she came here. And that's what I have always called her. That's all I always remembered her of.
Somebody told me that she was practicing for a spelling bee, and one of the words had two T's, and you started calling her two T's, two T's.
Oh, that's possible now. I don't know, but I know as long as I remember, she was called Tootie.
What was your nickname? Your nickname?
My nickname is Bubba.
And where does that come from?
B-U-B. That comes from my sister not being able to say brother. So she came out with Bubba, and that's what they called me ever since.
Where does Woody's nickname come from?
I think it was Woody the Woodpecker.
Ah.
Because his hair used to stick on top of his head when he was born. When he was a baby. His hair was sticking straight up on top of his head.
Like Woody the Woodpecker.
Like Woody the Woodpecker.
Okay, tell me about your grandfather.
Frank Allen Edwards. Some kind of a man.
Okay.
To this day, I don't know of anything that Frank Edwards couldn't do.
What do you mean?
He could build a house. He could fix cars. He painted cars. He did carpentry. He did painting, tree trimming. He could just see how things work, and he could fix them.
Did he make gravestones?
I guess this was during the Depression, back in the Depression, when most of America was poor and depressed. A lot of the black people in Lawrence County and Ironton, Ohio, and Greenup, Kentucky, couldn't afford headstones. So my grandfather, who was a stonemason also, made headstones for families that couldn't afford to buy them.
Okay.
And still, a lot of his headstones are standing to this day in Ironton and in, I think it's Greenlawn in Ironton, and there's a cemetery in Greenup.
Okay. So, who still lives in Ironton as part of the Edwards family?
The Edwards family, oh my God. Anyone that you have has the last name of Cockrell.
Cockrell.
Is the first cousin.
Okay.
They live in Ironton. And in Cameron's, our first cousins, they still live in Ironton. My brother Randy and my brother William, who is called Peter White, they still live in Ironton.
Okay.
And I've got another multitude of cousins down there, Maxine Mills and the Mills family, the Cockrells, the Keels, the Jacksons. Those are all relatives.
Tell me about Laura Edwards.
Laura Edwards was from Greenup, Kentucky. She was out of a family of about, I think there was 7 children. And she was the second youngest. And she was a short, thick woman, pretty serious most of the time about when it came to family and kids. She was as sweet as she could be, but if it came to family, she would bite your head off.
What do you mean? Do you have a memory of that?
I have a memory one time when we first moved to the city. My sister got in a fight with some little girl in the neighborhood.
Which sister?
Vernita, Sister Vernita. And she took a stick and was beating this girl on the ground who was on top of my sister at the time. And when the girl got off of my sister, my grandmother stopped and let him go back at it.
Because she wasn't going to pin nobody down?
Nope. Not no Edwards. And she's standing there. Lord, no.
Tell me about Aunt Vivian.
Aunt V. As far as
Is she the one that ran you to the hospital?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us about this memory?
Okay. We used to go to visit Aunt V every summer. That would be my sister, my grandmother, and I. for our like summer vacation. And we loved to come to Detroit because they would always take us to Belle Isle and take us to different places. We would stop at different monuments and stuff every time we made the trip back. And this one particular time, we were living pretty close, about a street away from what is now called Brewster Homes in Detroit, which is a historic public housing site in Detroit. We were living about a block on the next street. And my sister and I was out in back of her little, I guess it was like a duplex. They had houses on each side. And we were out back and there was a barrel on the ground. We were rolling on the barrel back and forth, kind of like a teeter-totter type thing. And playing, and my sister pushed me and I fell back. And I cut the artery in my left wrist. And blood was squirting up about 8 inches, I guess. Every time my heart beat, the blood would squirt out. My grandmother ran me in the house, took me in the bathtub, and all she knew to do was she was running cold water on it. Well, it scared the shit out of me because it looked like I had a bathtub full of blood. My aunt, who was a nurse, she ran home. She grabbed me, wrapped like a tourniquet around my hand. And at that particular time, I was real small, and it's like she was flapping me in the wind. She was moving so fast, and I was like a curtain or something running behind her.
Now, was Aunt V the shortest aunt?
Yes, she was. Yeah. She was about 4 foot.
So she was carrying you, running?
She was dragging me. And the hospital was Detroit Receiving Hospital, which was about, at that particular time, like about 4 blocks away. And every step of the way. And they took me to the hospital, sewed up my hand, put stitches in my hand. And we got over it. I went back home and
continued on that barrel?
nope, never got back on that damn barrel again. But my hand was all right. I had a lot of bandages and stuff on it.
She used to tell us that story all the time.
Then there was a time when she had moved to another side of town. She moved over on Meldrum. She had this old garage-type barn in the back of her house. And Uncle Candy kept all of his tools and stuff in there. But he never parked his car because I don't think that he had access through the alley.
Okay.
It was more like a shed to store stuff in from the house. And I got up in the shed, and I got up in the attic portion, and I was black as coal when I came out of that attic. Aunt V was so damn mad, she told my grandmother, she said, "You take this boy back to Columbus, and don't bring him back till he gets old age pension." And for you that don't know what old age pension is, Social Security, baby. So she didn't want me back till I was 65.
But that didn't work, did it?
No.
Do you have a favorite aunt? At different points?
They're all my favorites about different things.
Yeah.
I guess if I had to pick a favorite coming up in my life, because she was always, it seemed like she was always there, was Aunt Addie. Aunt Addie was my very first, I guess, as I got a little older and I look at it, she was my first involvement with a true women's lib.
Okay.
And Addie was...
She was a feminist.
She was, yes, but she was as beautiful as a rose and had thorns just as sharp.
Okay.
She wasn't...
And the mouth of a sailor.
And wasn't about taking no shit from nobody.
Yeah.
And would fight. So, yep, she stood her. Now, you talk about standing your ground? Yep, that's Aunt Addie. That's Aunt Addie.
Okay, what about Aunt Maggie?
Aunt Maggie used to scare me.
Yeah?
Because Aunt Maggie never, ever, I can't ever remember Aunt Maggie using anybody's nickname.
Huh.
When Aunt Maggie would call you, she would use your whole name.
Oh.
I'm talking about middle name too. And to most of us, when they say our whole name, we think we're in trouble.
Right.
But that's just the way she spoke. You know, she would say, Richard Donovan Edwards, come and eat.
Okay.
And to me, that meant like right now,
Okay.
don't make me call you again.
Okay.
And I think everybody else did.
So you respected her.
Oh, Lord. Plus her house was like a museum. She had so much stuff in there, but she would let you touch it, but you couldn't pick nothing up. And you sure wasn't going to break nothing. In fear that she might use your whole name when she called.
What about Aunt Ruth?
Aunt Ruth was the...
What's her nickname?
Bucci. Where she got the name, I don't know. But Aunt Ruth to me was, she would have been the party girl.
Okay.
Yeah, she would have been the party girl. I remember Aunt Ruth used to tell me a story about when my grandfather was working on the C&O Railroad, they could get free passage. And we had a lot of family in Virginia, a lot of my grandmother's people. Our Edwards was still in Virginia. So they would ride the train free and go to Virginia and visit the cousins and the aunts and stuff like that. And Aunt Ruth said that one time they got on a train, and I guess it was during the war, and there was a trainload of military men, Army. So Aunt Ruth was flirting with them. And Aunt Isabel, being the oldest daughter, and if you know anything about old family structure, the oldest is in charge. Mom and Dad ain't around, that oldest one is in charge. Aunt Ruth said Aunt Isabel took her back to like the mail car and wore her behind out. And Aunt Ruth said she made the whole trip, never said another word or even looked in the direction of those military men.
What about Aunt Loney?
Aunt Loney was my sweetheart. Aunt Loney was my sweetheart. I was going through some, she always looked out for me. She lived, and she usually lived in Michigan with her daughter or her son. But they were always coming back and forth to Columbus, Ohio, and every time she'd come, she'd bring me something. She would give us clothes and shoes and things that we needed, but she also, I remember when she was, I guess I was about 14. And I was rambunctious and getting in a little trouble. Not trouble that would put you in jail, but trouble around the house and with the family. And she gave me a matchbook. And she taped 2 dimes on the inside of it. And wrote her phone number down. And told me if I ever need her or anything, call her. Now back in the day, you only needed 20 cents to make a phone call. And they had matchbooks everywhere, but that's all she had. She knew I would keep it in my pocket because I didn't smoke at that time, so all I had was matches and 2 dimes and a phone number.
Did you ever use it?
No, I never had to. Never had to. But it was just a thought that she knew what I was going through and gave me another outlet if I ever needed it.
You were pretty close to Uncle Chucko.
Yeah, Uncle Chuck was, actually I was closer to Uncle Chuck in our later years.
Because he was in Michigan?
He was in Michigan, and I really got to
know him later?
Well, I knew Chuck was crazy from the beginning, you know.
How did y'all used to greet each other?
Pasta fazoo.
Because all the black people in the neighborhood thought that he was an old Italian man.
Thought he was a mafia man. And to this day, I don't know what pasta fazoo means, but the way he said it with his little hat and his black straight curly hair at the ends, and he always dressed just like the rest of the Edwards, and he would call it a pasta fazoo. Yeah.
What was your relationship with Uncle Richard?
Uncle Richard was, because me and Woody were so close, me and Uncle Richard and Dad, and we'd all go fishing together, we'd go hunting together, and I always knew Uncle Richard was what I called a hustler. Not that he hustled people, but he was always hustling up on some type of job, some type of money. If there was money involved, Richard was going to find a way to get some of it.
Okay.
And he was always like that. But now you talk about money, you need to talk about Homer Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
See, it took me a long time before I found out that Homer Edwards was the first black owner of a gas station in the city of Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
He was the very first.
Do we know what happened to that gas?
I guess he basically went out of business because of hiring family.
Mm.